Hey, did you know that the tears that we cry when we're sad, when we're grieving, just emotionally suffering, that those tears are different than the tears that our body produces on a daily basis? They're called continual tears. Those tears don't have toxins in them. When the tears that we cry when we're hurting emotionally have stress hormones and toxins in them. I just found this so fascinating. So when someone says, I had a meltdown, a really hard cry, and now I feel better, well, that's just not an all wise tale, which is what I used to think. There really is scientific research to prove that having a good cry literally makes you physically feel better. So I encourage y'all, if you are emotion stuffers, don't do that. Just please let those emotions out, especially if you feel that sadness welling. Let it out, because if you don't, what happens is those toxins, those stress hormones build up. And I know y'all probably had this feeling where you just feel like, I have this lump in my throat, I'm just so burdened and sad, I feel like I can't swallow, I'm nauseated, I'm having migraines, I can't sleep at night. All of those symptoms are much better, and studies show that they decrease significantly if you allow yourself to cry when you feel that sadness welling up. Don't stuff it, okay? So if you haven't guessed, we're still talking about the emotional roller coaster that we caregivers live on while we're living with Al. And today I'm going to talk about the sadness and the depression and the grief very briefly. That I could spend hours on this, but I promise I am not. But all of those just feelings of sadness that can really consume us. And how do we still find joy each day and push through and hold on those balloons that I keep alluding to, and just cherishing the time we have left when there is so much to be sad about and so many different losses we're grieving. And I don't have a magic pill, no easy answers, but I just wanted to share some thoughts. And one of the first things I was thinking about was about a year ago, my mom was in the hospital for a prolonged time. I'm not going to go into the details, but really, really sick, was in ICU for several weeks. And then when she was finally discharged, she had to go to a rehab hospital because she was like a limp noodle. She was so weak and lost so much weight. So when we got to the rehab hospital, it had been over a month since she had even seen the outdoors. Because she had a little tiny window in her room and just could not see out. So we get to her room in the rehab hospital. And as they're getting her, settled in her bed, I said, Mom, look, this is a huge window. This is awesome. And Gladys loves the outdoors, always had to have all her blinds open. So I knew she would be excited about that. So I walked over and my heart sank. In fact, it wasn't my finest hour. I looked over to the guys who were, getting her situated, the transport people. And I was like, oh, this is not going to do. She is not going to be able to stay in this room. This is a horrible view. Surely y'all have a room with a better view. And they just kind of looked at me and like, okay, do you know how hard rehab rooms are to come by? And my mom said, well, just look up, silly. And I wish y'all could hear Gladys saying it in her little sweet Southern accent. Just look up, silly. And so I did. And I thought, you know what? It is a beautiful Carolina blue sky, fluffy clouds, and out on the horizon you could even see some trees. And what I had seen, though, I looked down and I saw the roof of the continuation of the building. You know how sometimes if you're on a high floor you look down and you see all the industrial equipment. That was the view. I don't know if it's generators or what, but it's ugly. A parking lot view would have been better. And so that's what I saw initially. And honestly, if my mom would not have brought my attention to look up, I would have probably just focused on that for her whole duration there. And so when I was with her a good bit, I was very intentional about looking up and appreciating the beauty, because in fact, I took a picture of it. I'm going to post it on Facebook because I'm not just making this up. And so anyway, that's one of Gladys's gems, one for today. Just look up, silly. And as I'm saying that, I'm sure some of y'all are thinking, oh, if it was only that easy. And I certainly get it. I know some of y'all are not caring for a sweet Gladys. Some of y'all have heartbreaking situations. You're dealing with somebody who was always mean and crotchety and cantankerous. In fact, the reason I know this, well, first of all, it's common sense that not everybody is sweet. Secondly, I was on Molly's movement the other day, and someone commented, I just wish everybody would quit telling me this isn't my loved one, to have patience, be more loving or whatever, because this isn't my loved one. It's the disease. It's Alzheimer's. And I do that. I personify it. That's how I cope. But she said, this was my dad. He was abusive my whole childhood. He was never caring. He never took care of me. And here I am taking care of him, and he's as mean as he ever was. And I think that is so valid. And so I don't ever want to be seen as being dismissive and just making light of things and thinking that it's easy as, just trying to see the world through rose-colored glasses. But for those people, I just pray that you can somehow still find some joy each day. And I know it's a struggle. But some of the things that I find helpful, I've mentioned yoga, meditation, prayer is very important to me. And y'all know the other things, certainly getting outside, getting vitamin D. I try to at least go in my backyard if on good days, if I can go for a walk in the neighborhood. Just making sure that that the whole world isn't just, these four walls, that there is other things about life other than caring for our loved one. And if you're visiting your loved one in a facility, I know that's a whole different level of sadness, that you can't be with them all the time. So when you leave there, I just encourage you to plan to do something that you enjoy, even if it's running by Starbucks or, okay, I'm going to treat myself to this, just something to remind yourself there are things that we can still enjoy. I think we have to be very intentional about not letting the sadness overtake us to where we just spiral down. And if you are at a place to where it's hard to put one foot in front of the other, to where you just feel like you can't even function throughout your day, and that your tears it's not just, okay, I'm having a good cry every day, or maybe even 2 a day, but it's just constant. In fact, I worked with a caregiver one time who was at that state, and it was just so sad. I really felt like she had lost the ability to smile. And I told her, I said, you really need an antidepressant. And she said, no way, I do not want a happy feel. I need to grieve and feel what I'm feeling. And what I shared with her, which I know is true, if you're hesitant to take an antidepressant, it is not a happy pill. It's not going to make everything okay. What it will do, hopefully, and it may take, several trials and error to get to the one that works best for you, but it should take the edge off to where you can function better. And so I just encourage you to talk to your physician about that. And for those of you who are in the home and you feel like you can't get out, to do something you enjoy, you can't ever go to lunch with a friend or just go for a walk in the neighborhood, I encourage you to look into the Area Agency on Aging, AAA. Those are in every area across the United States, and they are a wealth of information for Alzheimer's caregivers. They're also, if they don't have the answer, they can point you in the right direction, but each state has different benefits. I know where we are, there's different grants that the Alzheimer's Association has to pay for respite in your home so you can get out. A lot of them have wonderful volunteer programs. If you qualify, sometimes they can provide aides to come in and help with direct care. So I can't encourage you enough. Just go online, Area Agency on Aging, and find out what the resources are in your area so you know you're not alone. There may be lots of benefits out there that you don't even know about. I certainly don't want to minimize how hard it is staying optimistic. I mean, I certainly have my days where I just feel like a slug and I feel blue and just lay around, and I allow myself to be lazy and sad. And I think that's okay. But what we can't do is allow that day to drag into weeks, to drag into months. So I really encourage you, talk to somebody, get medication if you need that, force yourself up to get up and get moving and get out of your house. Look for those resources that are there in your community. And what I want to close with is something that I read many years ago. It was required reading back when I was in high school, The Diary of Anne Frank. I know most of y'all are familiar with Anne Frank and her horrific time in a concentration camp where she ended up dying. But incredible, inspirational young woman. But one of her most famous quotes that just really I go to whenever I want to feel sorry for myself, and then I realize, oh my goodness, there are so many good things in my life. But she said, I don't think about all the misery, but the beauty that still remains. And I think as caregivers, that's what we have to be very intentional about doing, is not focusing on the many losses, the numerous things that get on our nerves throughout the day, just the stress and the what ifs. Those things will suck us under. So we have to be very intentional, like I said, about focusing on the beauty and finding beauty each day, finding a reason to smile each day, and finding the humor, which I think I'm going to talk about on my next video. So that's it for today. Until next time, take care.